All right, so this is what it looks like when I film concerts using a monopod and gimbal setup, and I look pretty dumb, but the footage is fire. I've been using this filming style since 2018, shooting artists like Beyonce, Jay-Z, Kendrick Lamar, and so many others. And this rig has changed the game for me. It lets me capture shots that used to be impossible unless you had a crane or a drone of some sort. And honestly, even those setups can't get to certain places that I can with this rig. And beyond the live music element, this thing is a huge advantage on documentaries, commercials, events, and just about any other project you can think of. But this filming style is not easy. It takes a lot of balance, control, endurance, and a lot of trial and error just to be able to master a single shot. And after I posted my last video about how to shoot concerts, I got flooded with a ton of questions. Things like, what monopod is that? How do you control it when it's high? What are your gimbal settings? How do you focus? Why not just use a drone? Do your arms ever get tired? And why don't you use an external monitor? Like, I probably had like 200 people ask me that. I'm not even joking. And I have a great reason for why I don't use a monitor when I film like this. So today I'm gonna answer all those questions, and I'm gonna teach you how I use a monopod from start to finish, so hopefully you can go out and test it in the wild. So let's get to it. But only after you subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you don't, I'm gonna shut off the power to YouTube so no one can see any of this shit. It's that easy. You support your boy or you ruin it for everybody. All right, I'm gonna trust that you did it. So I'm gonna get back into the video. My university was kind enough to let me come and shoot a lot of this demo footage at their facility, but I didn't want to take up too much of their space, so I figured I'd talk at home and then cut back and forth when I need to show you examples. So we're at my house. So why even use a monopod? Back in 2018, I got my first world tour with Beyonce and Jay-Z as their personal cinematographer, and my job was to find creative ways to shoot the performance. But one of the biggest challenges that I ran into was finding creative ways to shoot such a large stage. That thing was like 8 feet tall, so when filming from the pit with a gimbal, I was always filming up at the artist, which wasn't ideal. I would miss a lot of moments due to obstructions in the way, like fans or big speakers. And if the artist wasn't close to the edge of the stage, I likely couldn't even see them at all. Honestly, the only way to get a level shot of them was to shoot from front of house on a riser or just be on the stage with them. But conveniently at that time, DJI released their new Ronin S, and they sent me an early version of it to try. It was like their first single hand gimbal. Before that, I was always using the dual hand gimbal setups, which only allowed you to shoot as high as you could lift your arms. And it was just so bulky and heavy, it was just cumbersome. So one day I decided to hook my monopod to the Ronin. My thought was, maybe if I connect this to this, I can actually get the camera up high enough to be level with the artist and get a straight on shot of them in places that I haven't been able to shoot before, which looked kind of dumb, but the results were insane. I basically realized with this setup, I could emulate a crane, a jib, and a drone by moving through the pit fast while being fully extended, controlling the tilt and the pan of my Ronin while keeping the artist in frame, knowing that my focus was hitting because of the autofocus of the camera. It really was like a game changer for me at the time and unlocked a creative freedom that I hadn't had before. And as the years went on, I developed a set of skills and techniques that have helped me get really, really good at shooting this way. And a quick disclaimer, I guess, is if you plan on shooting this way, please be mindful of your surroundings. Make sure you're absolutely comfortable with operating a rig like this so that everyone can stay safe. But beyond that, don't just hold the camera up in the air and pray for a shot. Try to anticipate moments and pop up for that moment. I get it, sometimes it's discovery and you gotta do that, but just be mindful that these fans paid good money to come experience this event and you don't wanna be the person ruining that for them. And beyond the fans, there's an entire camera crew that's usually filming the concert for the fans to experience on the big screens. You're definitely gonna be cock blocking their shots, so go introduce yourself, tell them what you're doing, tell them why you're there, and apologize in advance. It goes a long ways. Shout out to all my camera people that I've worked with in the past that I've bummed out because of my monopod. But anyways, when it comes to choosing the right gear, it really comes down to budget, preference, and logistics. You could honestly film this exact same way with an iPhone and a little tiny gimbal and a selfie stick, so just keep in mind that equipment is subjective and it all just depends on your goals, needs, and what you have disposable to you. But I have expensive shit. The gimbal I've been using is the DJI RS4 Pro, and the camera I'm putting on it is the Canon EOS R1. This combo, in my opinion, is unmatched. It's actually funny because a couple weeks ago I was trying to describe my setup and I used the word simple.
My setup is quite simple.
And people did not like that I called this simple. But my point was that the setup is compact, lightweight, super stable, and has insane autofocus. And because of that, I don't need a bunch of accessories like transmitters, focus wheels, batteries, or an AC to pull my focus for me, which I have dressed my rig up that way and shot that way when I wanted to use cine lenses and I needed someone to pull focus for me. And it's great, but it's more complicated to shoot that way and requires more manpower to get the job done, which is what makes it not simple. Yeah, this whole thing right here is probably like 12 grand total, but being expensive doesn't mean that it's not simple. So as far as lenses go, and I'll put all the links in the description. If you want to support your boy's channel, because I get that affiliate money, I always have these 3 lenses in my bag at all times. I have my RF 15-35, my 70-200, and the 24-105. Obviously there's tons of lenses out there for you to choose from, and I've used a variety of lenses, but these are the 3 like standards that you must have in my opinion. And then obviously having a few lenses means that you'll probably do a few lens changes during a show. And I explain my whole theory about how I time when I'm gonna change lenses and plan that out according to my set list and my shot list in my how to shoot concert video. But I will say with enough practice, learning how to balance a gimbal, you can do a lens change pretty quickly, especially between my 70-200 to the 24-105. They're fairly similar weight size and width. And one thing I did to speed up my process even more so I could get more shots was just have 2 setups, which is obviously more expensive, but when you're budgeting for a project, what's the value of getting more shots? Having that extra setup was really helpful for me when it came to saving time. But what's a shot worth? And as far as monopods go, I've tested a few over the years. I had this cheapo from Amazon for a long time. I got this guy, which has a hydraulic release system, which is awesome. But the monopod I go with when I'm shooting shows is made by 3-legged things. And I use this for 2 reasons. 1, it can extend to like 6.5 feet tall. And 2, it's rated to hold a payload of like around 132 pounds, which doesn't seem to be believable, but I've shot with this thing for countless shows and tested its weight, even having it hang sideways, and this thing hasn't broken yet. And also I guess the 3rd thing would be how compact it is. It's very small and lightweight. So here's how I set up my rig. And I'm not gonna do like a top-down angle and show you close-ups of stuff. I'm just gonna explain it, so I'm sorry, but I'll never make this video if I have to do all that shit. So first you wanna make sure that all your cards are in here, your batteries are in here, any NDs, whatever's gonna change the weight before you balance it. If you're using a zoom lens, I like to split the difference and keep my focal length somewhere split in the middle. So on a 24-105, I'm gonna do like 65. And then I just balance it. And honestly, I don't do anything special. I've just watched tutorials from DJI on how to balance a Ronin. But I will say, take your time doing this so that it's perfectly balanced, because that's just gonna save you a lot of headaches out in the field. Once you've balanced all 3 access points, I just run a quick calibration. God damn it. All right, I'll film what I'm doing for you. I'll just run a quick calibration, start the calibration, starts doing its thing. Always do this on a flat surface. The only other thing I'll do is I'll just adjust my tilt and my pan. I'll drop that down to like 25, 30 on both of those to lower the stiffness. I feel like that gives me just the right give that I need when turning my wrist to be able to get the camera to pan or tilt, especially on a monopod. It's a little bit more forgiving of a fine-tune adjustment. And now with any other settings, I've played with the advanced settings, but to be honest, the thing that I like to do is I just put the follow speed in slow and just use the default settings there. The only other times I'll change my follow speed is to medium when I need to do like quicker maneuvers, like a more sporty move. But for a nice slow pan and tilt, especially on a monopod, slow is the win. But that's what works for me, so go fuck around, find out what works for you, and just do a lot of trial and error testing. And then I just hook it up to the monopod and I start working. And yeah, I don't have a monitor on here. I'll explain why I don't use a monitor in a second. But let's cut back to me at the school so I can show you some examples of how this all works. The Crocs are here, and so is my boy Mark. He's an actual artist. I'm gonna link to his music in the description. You gotta support his music. Today he's gonna be standing center stage so I can show you variations of shots from the pit in different parts of the stage so we can at least have a pretty looking model to stand in for us. So we're gonna go down here and we're gonna hit the pit. So what I'm gonna do is show you kind of how I would do a dolly shot. Usually you have this grip of space here between you and the crowd, or maybe there's a barrier here, and you have to be mindful because there's always a lot of security, there's a lot of cables, there's all kinds of crap everywhere, and there's a lot of people everywhere. So being able to do these maneuvers isn't easy. One quick tip if you're planning on shooting concerts, go around and introduce yourself to all the security that are working, at least in the pit. I did that at every show and just said, hey, I'm gonna be filming, I have this stupid long stick, I'm gonna be walking backwards, I'm not looking, so just keep an eye out for me and I'll keep an eye out for you. And they were always so accommodating, so that will help you immensely when you're shooting shows like this. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is, depending on the stage size, like I'm used to being in stadiums and our stages are much taller than this. What I gotta do is figure out my focal length. So I'll kind of try to get as good of a vantage point as I can to the artist and adjust my focal positioning. My goal is to get like a medium close-up shot for this specific moment, so I'll lock into that, 85 mil right there. Once I have that locked in, I go and get my focus point, and the same thing, I'm trying to get my camera in a position so I can at least see the artist or the mark where I'm trying to hit, and I'll frame up and try to lock it in. Using that picture priority mode, that's where this will come into play as well, that I talked about in the last video. Once I have both of those things locked in, I raise the monopod up to whichever height I need it at, and I start my move. And now I'm keeping an eye on my subject, and that's why I'm looking up at my monitor, but I'm also looking at the ground and what's around me, so I don't hit anything here. Oop, shit, oop, shit. Shit. That's real life though, bro. The amount of times, even just making this demo, how many times I've tripped and kicked things is the reality of what this is using a monopod. It is not easy by any means to navigate spaces that are uncontrolled, and even when they are, you're looking up. The challenge here is being able to have an understanding of your settings on your Ronin to be able to twist your monopod slightly to create that arc effect where you're able to keep the artist locked in the center while moving quickly, which is gonna give you that nice dolly shot. So that's what I'm gonna do real quick. So I start my move, I'm twisting my wrist ever so slightly so I can get this arc to happen, but keep him center frame. He's moving a bit, so I start turning a little bit more, and I finish it out. When I'm in stadiums or even theaters, there's seats everywhere. And one thing that you can do is use these rows to your advantage with a push-in. What I like to do is I like to extend my monopod over a crowd to be able to get myself a unique angle where I'm flying through people's hands and I'm seeing cell phones and lights that adds a little bit of dynamic energy between the crowd and the artist. So for this example, I'm gonna start on the crowd actually, and I'll pan up to land on Mark. As I get closer to the stage, I'll arc and pan to him, and that'll be the end of our shot, which will look nice. So I'm gonna start here, I'm on the crowd. Let's get my focus. There's nobody here and it's just dark. I start on the crowd, I examine my environment, and I start my pass. I start to pan up from the crowd. I catch Mark, he's performing. I'm locked on focus. I start to pan, I guess, and I keep him in frame, and I end at the stage and hold. So yeah, that style of shooting involves a lot of balance, but also a lot of neck pain because I'm looking up, which is a great time for me to get to all these comments.
No monitor? Bro, get a monitor and thank me later. Imagine getting a monitor and not guessing.
The camera screen's not usable in that situation.
I think these monitor comments is the main reason I decided to make an entire video about this. Because you're right. I could throw a monitor on the bottom of my monopod and save my neck from a 3-hour-long show. I could simply run a cable all the way down to the bottom of the monopod, put a monitor there, and be able to hold it and just look straight at my monitor. And I could even add a wireless follow focus, and I agree. In theory, that's a better option. But that don't work for me. Because I built my entire career by being an agile solo filmmaker, and I'm burning calories during these shows. Because I'm in the pit, and backstage, and in the crowd, and on the stage, and even in the nosebleeds, to your left, wrong spot. Even in the nosebleeds. I even go outside the stadium, I'm everywhere. And the reason I'm able to be everywhere is because I'm so nimble. For example, say we're shooting in here and I really want to go up on the stage and get like a nice low pass of Mark. I don't want this monopod on here because when I start going into low mode, I can do it like this, but a lot of times I'm walking, I try to walk quick, I hit the monopod. I like to take the, oops, shit. Don't try this at home, boys and girls.
Also that happens.
Also that happens. Yeah, that does happen, that's true. If I had a monitor system mounted at the bottom of here, now if I want to disconnect this thing, I have to unconnect the cables, I have to leave this for sure somewhere, I can't put it on my back. I'm gonna have to have batteries on here, it's cumbersome, it's heavier, and I could put a monitor on the side of the Ronin, which makes it easier to twist up and down and stuff. But for me, it just adds more weight, it's bulky, and I've gotten really good at just twisting this little viewfinder down and being able to use my 20/20 vision to see what I'm looking at, and it works for me. My shots are awesome. But again, do whatever works best for you. So what I like to do is loosen this up. We're on our way to the stage, twist this thing off. I like to use the original DJI feet that came with it. So now that that's there, I can just toss this thing on my back and I don't have to worry about it. When I'm on stage, imagine that there's actually a band up here. These chairs could just be the band and I want to navigate through them. I'm able to do that because I'm so small and nimble. So I find my route, I figure out where I want to go, I lock and mark, hit record, and I can start making my pass through the chairs, keeping the arc happening, navigating around whatever obstacles are in my way, getting a nice clean shot of him, sort of. I fucked that up, but that's all good. Keep going and panning around. Now the beauty is I can go back. So if I want to run it again, I can wait for the right time and I can start doing a nice fast pass. This time I'm going behind them, so I'm able to keep him in frame. All these chairs would have people here, so you'd have a bunch of heads in the foreground. My artist is locked in, and that shot is nice and buttery. All right, so in this example, I'm gonna keep Mark center frame. He's doing his move. There's a band here, but there's a split lane right down the center, so I can navigate low and center to Mark. So I'm gonna hit record, I have him locked off, got my focus, I can see the entire crowd. Once I have the framing, I'm gonna start making my push. I'll keep going. I did the same exact shot with Jay-Z before. Being on stage, sometimes there's features like this wall right here could be a rack of speakers. A position that you could shoot from would be coming from behind the speakers. Obviously you could shoot at this height right here where you're walking, but it would be nice to see what this looks like fully extended giving a nice reveal of the artist and the crowd. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna frame my shot, make sure my focus is hitting for my artist. When I feel good about it, I'll raise my monopod, start extending. And then this is a great example because a lot of people ask me like, how do you control the Ronin from down there? And I don't. If I feel like I can't tilt or pan, I can quickly just drop this down, lower it, adjust and tune what I need from my Ronin, and then put it right back up, which is hopefully helpful. Here I have the wall on my right side of the frame. I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna work my way around this feature and go behind him to reveal him with the crowd. I'm gonna start pushing in past the wall, coming around here. I'm keeping him center framed. I'm making my arc right. I'm taking a look to make sure I'm not gonna run into anything. He's staying center frame there. Hopefully Josh is not grabbing my autofocus, but I'm gonna keep wrapping around here. And this looks super major. I think that once you master the art of moving and shooting with this setup, you'll discover that your potential for shots is massive. And I've used this technique in so many different environments beyond just concerts. For example, my company was making a product launch video for Canon with the new C400 camera. And one of the things that we wanted to do is show the scale of the production outside this old theater. And we were able to get shots of the setups and all the production value that was happening on set. So then I thought, why not put the wide lens up on a monopod and get a nice shot where I'm skimming the lights at this theater, tilting down and showing this massive dolly track with the C400 being operated on it. And also in that same video, we were trying to show how the camera team was filming this specific angle of an actor crawling through theater seats. And our point of views weren't that great because the crew was all around the camera operating, so your vantage points were pretty limited. But pop a camera up on the monopod, tilt it straight down, and now I have this drone view shooting the perspective of that person crawling through the theater seats. And it looked really cool to show the scale of our team and the crew. You can use this tactic in so many scenarios, you just have to get creative. And I also want to shout out people that have been commenting on my videos because they were suggesting that I get a quick release so that I no longer have to twist this on and off with the monopod and I can just quickly pop that off, which I've thought about before and I haven't actually tested it. My fear was that it's another point of contact that could potentially break or become loose when you're not thinking, and that could be not a good time. But I do think it would work, so I'm going to get one at some point and try that out and test it. So thanks for that suggestion. And another common comment was, why not just fly a drone? And the reality is, to fly a drone that could handle this camera and get the same quality that I'm producing would have to be really big and is impossible to fly indoors at events like that. It also would require you having an entire ass drone and a drone team to do that and operate it. The shots people see at concerts are from drones that are like this big. Puny, tiny, which looks really cool, but can't emulate what I'm doing when I'm behind this camera. Even when you have a shot outside, like the example I just showed with Canon, I was able to pop up, grab that shot, and then go back to whatever we were focusing on very quickly. So hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, anyways, I love shooting with the monopod. It gives such interesting perspectives and opens up a whole creative door for any project. I would love to know if you've shot this way before or what preferences you have with your setup and how you like to rig it. I'm always down to evolve the way I shoot, and so if you want to leave a comment and put your suggestion in there, other people will benefit from that as well. I hope this video was helpful. Hit the sub button if you're fucking with me. Be kind to others and tell somebody you love them. Okay, bye.
Let me talk to you. You ain't gotta be in love.
Yeah, bitch.
To know the difference in the feeling when we touch. You never been with a heterogeneous. Is it the Julio that got you curious? Mashing the gas, push it to the max. You deep in your bag, I don't gotta ask. Mashing the gas, push it to the max. I'm deep in my bag, you don't gotta ask. Can we skip to the part?